Hello.
And we're on warm-up.
Oops, wrong.
Oh, I'm not done writing the post. Okay.
Pum, pum, pum.
Got distracted with dinner. Hey, Andre. Hey, Jed. Don't forget to like the video, Andre. Oh boy, today's topic is the mini one. Hey, Pico.
At least that's how the thing goes.
Okay. Part of me is tempted to test the fan and see if they can hear it.
Well, I get maybe it's not so bad now because we also have the exhaust on. So there's already a fan sound.
I think it's more when the fan blows against the camera.
Ah, that's true.
Yeah.
I can steady it like here.
Yeah. Hey, Carlo, and everyone else. Do comment if you can hear the roar of the fan or if it's actually not that noticeable.
Yeah, it's super distracting because it's warm.
Mhm.
Also because I'm baking at this time of the night. Yeah, so you have Jed, Pico,
Hey, David.
Jay, Andre, Carlo. David just joined. Hello.
All's fine in audio according to Andre. So I guess, yeah, we can leave the fan on.
No, we are catching up though.
See, you'll notice my hair is now moving occasionally because of the fan.
So is mine. Huh. David's like not sure if it's our fan. Okay, so I guess the fan's doing okay.
What are you,
Baking?
yeah, baking?
Yeah, my weekly batch of keto pandesal.
The keto bread.
Yeah, so that I still have bread to
Mhm.
munch on as a snack. Yeah.
David shares, I'm not sure if it's my fan or yours. Well, David, we know you have a lot of fans.
Yeah, but thanks again for everybody who joined yesterday. It was super fun.
Oh my gosh, that was so crazy.
I hope you enjoyed it too. Nico had a lot of fun too.
That was 3 hours?
It was 3.5 hours. Literally 3.5 hours. And then over dinner, Toby and I were like wondering like we should still kind of do something in addition on the actual anniversary, I guess. And
Mhm.
I don't know. We're gonna come up with some cheesy listicle or something for 11. I don't know.
Yeah, or we'll fight against 11/11 because it's singles day. So our 11 is.
But it's the 17th.
Yeah, but it's our 11.
I don't know what you're bringing up. Why are you trying to do this? Yeah. Okay. We probably start. I guess.
All right.
Checking. Let me switch over to.
Timer starting. This is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, a little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
This is completely unscripted, but not entirely accurate. But at least it's honest. Join us. We talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining again. Don't forget to like the video right now, while you're watching it.
Yeah, and like share the stream, all that. Hey, help us with engagement because it's important.
So we are spending the next 30 minutes talking about our love for theater.
Yeah.
And in a way, this will serve as an intro to theater appreciation. We've had a number of friends who have expressed that they're now interested in trying to watch more things, or they're starting to have more curiosity about musicals and stuff. So we thought this would be a nice episode where we could share our thoughts and I guess advice on what to check out.
To some degree. And then at the same time, I mean, we recognize it's still a frustrating period where
Mhm.
live stage productions like straight plays and musicals are unable to continue these days. Although
Mhm.
there's a lot of like efforts to bring these things to YouTube and other streaming platforms. Um, but I figure we might as well just still talk about it and plan for that day when we can all watch plays again
Mhm.
all together in a theater. Yeah. So yeah, so we wanted to start talking about first the fact that we do love theater a lot.
Mhm.
Um, how would you discuss it? Because I mean, I came into the relationship with this. This is already like it's one of my things. Like I
Yes.
super like theater,
Yes.
so we let's start watching plays together. And
Yeah.
then yeah,
So for me, in as much as I did enjoy theater and musicals even before I met Rocky, it wasn't necessarily one of my main passions. And just to tangent real quick, our shirts are from from
from an LA Pride event from Julie.
yes, from Julie. And as you can see, it's a horse that is rainbowing.
Rainbow as a verb.
Yeah, we will not explain what exactly that is. But yeah, I was into theater at an early age because my parents and my aunts made sure that I was already interested in acting and performing in elocution and the like. So as early as preparatory, I was already performing on stage in front of people. That preparatory presentation was Nightmare, which had me in pajamas with a stuffed rabbit talking about a nightmare I had. So I was already into horror that young. And then in the following ones, it was then more religious. I had The Storm, where I was Jesus Christ talking about calming the storm and walking on water, to a David and Goliath story, and so on and so forth. Um,
It's so interesting hearing Teopi say preparatory. It's so formal.
uh, during summers, my aunts would then have these, all the cousins would be gathered together for summer workshops. And among them would always be a presentation or a play production. So we've done everything from, The Emperor Has No Clothes and stuff like that. So it didn't, I guess it's to a bigger influence was the fact that one of my uncles is Ricky Abad, who pretty much is a big name when it comes to theater. So it was through him we got exposed to a lot of theater to watch, a lot of productions, plus school. So when I met you, in as much as I enjoyed musicals every now and then, and when I with my family abroad and we chance upon, oh, they're showing Phantom, we can watch. We would watch. It didn't become as much a passion until I met you, because that's when I realized, oh, you can buy season tickets. Oh, you can plan out your schedule to watch these things, and you introduced me to all these other productions I've never even heard of.
Mm. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, like I've always liked theater. I mean, the easy entry, of course, was like musical theater. Also,
Mhm.
especially like, I mean, I grew up in a household where we watched like a lot of the MGM classics, which are a whole different subset of musicals in themselves. That some of them were made for the film arena. Some of them were adapted from stage plays and the like. But then it's like there's a particular like musical structure to a lot of them. We think about like Carousel and such.
Just so you all know,
My bread is ready.
Rocky will have to step away to handle his bread so it doesn't burn. So I shall keep you company with Spoiler Shark. Spoiler Shark. So while we're waiting, everyone who's watching, please right now send in comments on what theater or musicals what are the first productions you remember ever enjoying, or not necessarily enjoying, but maybe seeing. Do you recall, like at a very young age, you saw Ibong Adarna, for example? Or do you recall finding yourself getting deeply into a certain musical when you were young. Share in the comments while we're waiting for Rocky to return. Well, okay. Jay asks, aside from Disney, which I think Rocky will speak about in length when he gets back. Rocky,
I hear you.
you can glance back and wave because people can see you in the mirror.
Let me focus.
It's okay. Focus on the bread. So David shares, first production I saw live was Wicked with Adam Lambert.
Wow.
David, we really love you, but we can really see the generation gap here. Oh my God. Adam Lambert, that's pretty awesome. Pico shares, first theatrical maybe was The Glass Menagerie. Andre shares Les Mis when he was in grade 4. David also shares Ateneo grade school productions. Yes, many private schools do have their own theater troupes and productions. Don Bosco Makati didn't necessarily have theater groups, but there were, oh yes, the Tito Bread. There were a lot of theater solo elocution contests in Don Bosco Makati. But in schools like LaSalle and Ateneo, I know there are theater organizations that are specific to that. Carla shares, I saw a play from Philippine Normal University where they reenacted and sang lots of Disney theme songs. Had fun, especially with the Hercules songs. Andre adds, also saw a production of, Sue's the Musical.
Susical the musical.
Okay. But the memorable one was Hamilton. Andre, you've seen Hamilton?
Or you
Did
just
you-
watch the recording.
Because
Okay.
if you've seen Hamilton, I will unfriend you out of envy. So wait, I will go back to Jay's question. Disney. Would you count enjoying Disney as being introduced to theater or being introduced to musicals?
I mean, maybe it helped from a musical perspective, but then I guess what we're really trying to celebrate here is live theater. So the difference of actual stage productions. Disney helps you kind of get into some appreciation for like the musical structure
Or
But then-
narrative that uses songs?
Yeah, but then it also sometimes turns off a lot of people because then they think that musicals are weird and like
Or like musicals are,
Yeah,
are like Disney. They're
if
meant for
Disney
kids.
musicals are like this, then it's a childish endeavor. So there's a bit of difference about it. So early on, I mean, and this is like carried over already for like, I mean, I was already trying to invest time to watch musicals in my previous relationship. And then when I got to Toby, we actually had more opportunities to watch. But then I guess what always draws me is that the limitations of the stage which is actually inspires greater creativity.
Yes.
I mean, you have plays where the stage is entirely bare and you just have the actors visualizing in their own head
Or-
and interacting with imaginary props.
Miming that the props are there.
Yeah, or sometimes there's very tasteful isolated items, or you have the big grandiose sets with a lot of
Moving
moving
parts,
parts and stuff.
backdrops. There's also now musicals and theater that capitalize on new technology. So everything from rear projections to projection mapping to LCD screens, and some have even gotten as far as using video as segments that are part of the production. Wherein they might be doing the scene, but then we'll cut to a video presentation that's a cut scene while they're preparing the next scene.
Yeah.
And they're like, so there's a lot of innovation that happens in theater, and I think that's one of the for me at least, it's one of the reasons I really enjoy it. I love seeing how, given the limitations of unlike movies where you can edit, you can do post production, special effects, and the like.
Or even just the way it's shot, that you can do multiple takes for a single song or scene so that you get it perfectly right.
Yeah,
Theater means you have to get
it from
one and
start to
done.
finish. And not only get it from start to finish, but everyone else has to work in concert. Because if, let's say, you do a costume change, then the props people who should pull away the costume must be able to do it at the right moment. If the set will adjust to your motions, then the people should not, crush each other as they manipulate stuff. So it's that amazing choreography that just fascinates me.
Yeah. So as much as different movie musicals are interesting and entertaining in their own right,
Mhm.
but trying to see how they were actually done on stage is a whole different experience, which I still feel is like very magical.
Mhm.
And it's a lot of work, it's a lot of passion, and you have a lot of dedicated artists in the local scene who are trying to keep theater alive.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm always keen to support that. We can always lament that I've never been to Broadway personally. I would love to go to Broadway and watch a Broadway play, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to enjoy the many local productions. Okay, so I guess there's for me, and then when we think about it, is that but what's the gateway? Like what can you do to get into theater, or like when you want to start figuring out what shows are out there?
Mhm.
Low hanging fruit is that if you go to sites like Ticket World and just see what's on the calendar and see what the featured play is this month, so then it might be an easy way to like see what's out there. A lot of people gravitate towards musicals, and that's cool, and that's great. And just note that there are um, local productions that are done by local casts, and there's
Yes.
touring productions that travel around the region. We typically get a bunch of stuff from Australian companies or UK
Yes.
companies, and what's this? So that yeah, then you get these touring groups with pretty good quality sets because they're really designed to tour.
Sorry, Mitch. No, Nico is no longer in the episode. He had to go home.
Yeah,
My share, Stick It To Me these days. Are you familiar with
yeah.
Stick It To Me?
There's some like repositories for recorded shows that are out there.
Yeah.
and that helps. But yeah, so given that, then if you want to continue to explore the local scene, there is always a mix of groups that do musicals and groups that do what we tend to call stage plays or straight plays because there's just no music involved, but they're actually quite good stuff. Low hanging fruit, well, I will always say is Repertory Philippines. So
Yes.
they're one of the oldest theater companies that are still active. They operate out of the Onstage Theater in Greenbelt 1.
We are of course talking pre-lockdown.
Pre-lockdown.
So as of now, we haven't really checked, and we won't even advise going out currently without while the lockdown is still in effect. We don't advise going out to see stuff unless
there are no shows.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then the nice thing about Repertory is that their show calendar is structured that the year starts. Their regular season is 3 straight plays typically. Although in recent years they've been introducing a musical in the 3 shows, and then they have the children's musical mid-year, and then they have one last musical at the end of the year. Yeah, around Christmas time.
Yeah.
And you can buy tickets
for the entire season.
you can buy the entire 5-play season. You can just get the straight plays, which is the 3, or you can get the 3+1, which is like the 3 plus the children's musical and the 3 plus the whatever.
And in terms of pricing, when
It's
you get
very
the season,
affordable. I mean, even if you buy them one show at a time, they're a lot more affordable than the big touring productions, than the
Yes.
big musicals. And it's always there are a lot of gems. And if you wanna, yay, 10 people, okay, keep going. And then if you wanna support, local theater, I mean it's a great way to go. And they will expose you to a variety of productions. They do a mix of a heavy drama, a comedy, and all these things.
So the easy to reach local options other than rep would include so there's the school related productions.
Yes.
Blue Rep, for example. There's
Tangalang Ateneo, Dulaang
Yes.
you know that. And if you have admittedly, it's like if you have the patience also to travel all the way. I mean, for us, we're like very far away from the school areas, so it's like it's very far. And it's a bit of a pain to I dread just thinking about trying to get into Ateneo on a weeknight, things like that.
and then you have PETA.
Yeah, another great place for local productions, but Repertory tends to do like English language international plays more
Yes.
often than not, and then they just stage them here. PETA is a great incubator for original local plays, so that
Yes.
are it's written and crafted that way. Some in English, some in Filipino, and some in other dialects. Um, yeah, PETA is always a great place to go. Parking is horrendous uh,
Yes.
around PETA. It's so if you are, uh, it's convenient to just grab going there,
Mhm.
um, and it's a good place to go.
Yeah. Prior to lockdown, if you were also the type interested in seeing new creations or new work or experimental work, there was the one at CCP. Suddenly I forgot the name. I had it in my head just seconds ago. Ah, what is it called? Okay, it's not working. You'll have to don't don't concentrate me.
I mean,
Ah, I keep thinking Groundbreakers, which is RPG. See, the one where Carl has a lot of stuff showing sometimes.
yeah,
And Bo.
you can do it.
I can't. You have to say it.
You can do it.
I don't remember.
I can't remember now because you can't remember.
Ah,
Our shared memory is dying. No, there, Maya saved you. It's Virgin Lab Fest.
there you go. Virgin Lab Fest. Thank you, Mike.
Virgin Lab Fest is always a great
Mm.
testing ground for new
Oh my God, that was so embarrassing.
stories. The challenge of Virgin Lab Fest is that it's a lot of different one act plays. They're on different tracks.
Yes.
So you will need to commit to several nights or several weekends to catch all the plays if you really
Mhm.
want to.
And you know, it's also really going to be
I'm sorry, I'm
Um,
eating now
what's the
because
word?
my eating window is closing and my bread is done.
it's really going to also be a gamble because these are all new productions. One would even dare say never before produced productions, but that would be a misnomer only because Virgin Lab Fest does also do reruns of certain stuff they've shown before.
Normally, the top plays from the previous
Mm.
year become like the returning plays in the next Virgin Lab Fest.
They also offer, however, another unique experience, which is the read through.
The script reading,
Yeah.
yes.
So you have people attend and then they read through the script and not act it, but it gives you a glimpse of how it is translated by the people as they go through it. My shares, they moved it online this year.
Yep, they did. It was an
Um,
interesting effort.
So David shares kung paano ako naging leading lady. Yes, it was shown there.
That started as a Lab Fest one act play and then got expanded into a full musical over at PETA.
So real quickly through other questions, Andre earlier talked about Once Upon This Island having the set in the middle. That's actually one of the things I like about theater. When they find,
It's Once on This Island.
sorry, Once on This Island, when they find interesting ways to play with the setup. You know,
Mhm.
the stage can be in the center, everyone surrounding it. The stage can be different islands, and
Yeah.
sometimes the stage is among the audience and stuff like that.
Okay, and then if you don't want to shell out for the big musicals with the touring productions, because the touring production tickets are crazy expensive, and it typically means you're going to watch at the theater at Soler, which is far away. Don't discount a lot of the local groups that are dedicated to musicals, but they're still a little pricey because you're still paying for the franchising licensing fees for these things. Atlantis theatrical production is one of the more popular ones. They do a lot of the big Western musicals. And then there are other groups that do similar stuff. So Upstart Productions is one. What's his Nine Works Theatricals. And then, well, Red Turnip does a lot of, does straight plays and a slightly more experimental. They tend to hold their productions at Circuit Makati, that Power Max Center at Circuit Makati. Although recently people have been exploring using the Maybank Performing Arts Center here in BGC. And then, of course, there's like, I don't know what the name of the group is, but the one that always performs at Resorts World, Manila, the one that's based out of that theater. They do a mix of Western stuff and then sometimes the occasional original thing, but mostly Western stuff, but with local casts. And that's just in terms of things that you can watch. And then beyond that, I guess to help you from an appreciation perspective is that Like books, where because you like a book, then you may want to think about looking up the author. The same with with plays and especially musicals. Think about who did the book and lyrics, who did the score, and then you may want to explore their related work.
Okay, so
So
what is a book? So that
um,
that's clear.
it's from a theater perspective
Mhm.
because it's not there's creating the music, but then you also have to create the lyrics that match the song and then the story, and that's hence you have the theater credit for book and lyrics. I mean, I'm not an expert in this area, but then these are the people that you look at in terms of the production.
Mhm.
So like I'm a big Stephen Sondheim fan, and this is like one of the first things I tried to introduce Toby to.
Yep.
I mean, there are a lot of plays that you may already like that were done by that person, but when you really put a conscious effort and to see what their body of work is, then it's a more interesting
Yes.
and exciting world to
You
explore.
you start to identify the signatures or
The styles that he
yeah,
does,
the things he likes to explore again, or the tropes that he likes to play with, or even attack.
mm-mm.
Sorry, that was a knife that fell.
And then you can even go through as you go through like from their older works to their newer ones. Then you see how their style
Has evolved.
evolved and
Yeah.
progressed, and then that's like very very exciting. So in the same way, like as much as like Hamilton is the super big thing that a lot of people were able to get into
Mhm.
sort of easier because of the musical styling is very contemporary and
Mhm.
approachable. But then you kind of but I wonder how many people get to rewind and think about what else did Lin Manuel Miranda do, and also appreciate how beautiful In the Heights is,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
amazeballs. So take the time to see
Oh no, Nick is in the house.
what that body of work is like, and not just kind of stick to the hype train of like just one production,
Mhm.
because then you'll see that the the way that they do things over time is quite fascinating. Even like which by now are kind of classic, tropey almost things like Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical productions.
Mhm.
They have a particular like structure and cadence that you keep seeing over and over. But and there are refinements and innovations to it. So that's always fun. What else?
Do we have? Sorry, I just wondered. Do we have captions ready? No.
No.
Okay, just making sure. Because if we were, I was like, are we forgetting these then? So we know now some of the possible options locally, online. Just so for those who are interested in exploring, or if you are interested and you haven't realized it yet, many groups have started to show their stuff online, whether it's through Facebook or YouTube or their own streaming channels. Um, I forget the one where we saw the Frankenstein.
Oh, that was
play.
the something theater. It's a UK one.
Yeah.
A lot of them tend to. I mean, ever since this pandemic started, and a lot of the theater groups brought their plays online. A lot of them have them free on a temporary basis for
Mhm.
like 48 hours.
Mhm.
For example, if you like Andrew Lloyd Webber stuff, then there is a YouTube channel called The Shows Must Go On,
Mhm.
which tends to have interesting productions that are active over the weekend only. This weekend was an unplugged performance medley, which is interesting. The last weekend it was From Here to Eternity, right?
Mhm.
The military one. So that's always it's like interesting to catch. And then locally, like the CCP also did a lot of their productions, and not just their plays and stuff, but also a lot of their ballet and
Yes.
interpretive dance stuff, which is quite fascinating. But again, always limited, always available on a limited time basis. Yeah.
So
My only caveat,
Yeah.
sorry, and
Go, go, go.
I'll
Go,
tie
go,
into that. My only caveat with any recordings
yes.
of stage plays is that uh, it's never quite as good as seeing it in person.
Mhm.
There is something special about the in theater experience that a recording of a theatrical release of a stage production is never quite the same. Our biggest complaint whenever Toby and I are watching a recording of a stage production is the camera framing.
Yes.
That a lot of times they
They
keep
tell you
doing
where to
these.
look.
Yeah, they're super directing you to where to look. So you get a lot of tight shots of the different actors doing their particular numbers, and you don't always get to see the full stage.
And a lot of times theater is choreographed and blocked for the whole stage experience. It doesn't matter if the entire stage you only have these two people talking that moment, which in a recording the camera will then focus on them talking. But sometimes the entire stage has a sub story or a subtext happening in relation to that conversation. And that's what gets lost in recordings. You lose the freedom to explore while you're watching, which is a large part of the fun. Well, at least that's what I see as fun when I'm
Yeah.
watching theater. I have, when you're watching it for the first time, you might just focus on the key characters. But if you're watching something you've seen before, you then get to indulge and okay, let's see what the background people were doing this entire time. Oh wait, I loved it when the stage transformed. I'll watch the stage this time. I want to see it happen.
It's like on the when you if you get to try to watch The Lion King, which aisle seat do you
Yes.
take, left or right? Because it
that-
changes the
Ah!
experience.
Oh my
So
gosh,
all
yes.
these things. And yeah, Carlos, as the sub stories make for multiple viewings.
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally. I mean, just so that the recent indulgence of the Hamilton
Mhm.
recorded staging, which is actually multiple staging stitched together. Then you get to super appreciate that. Oh my God, there is so much subtlety
Mhm.
woven into that play.
And so pro, that was recorded, we're able to see it despite never being able to afford going there.
Yes.
Con, we only saw what the director wanted us to look at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it might not sound like much, but then you'll realize it's painful on how much is lost, especially when you have, I was about to say authors, people who create songs to have multi-layered singers. So in one performance, you might focus on, let's say, singer A. But as singer A and singer B are singing simultaneously, on the next performance, you might want to focus your ears on singer B. Because then you can catch his words above singer A just by focusing on that person. And that disappears in a recording because even if you want to focus on singer B, the fact the camera is showing you this, your attention is now leaning to whatever you hear, you're connecting it to that visual.
Yeah. So don't I don't think there should be a clamor that all stage productions should be recorded and sold as
Mhm.
recordings. There is still value in going to the actual
Yes.
theater and seeing that full. You're seeing that in full.
Mhm.
Then you get to choose. Then you are the camera. Then you get to decide
I
where you
think-
want to go.
Yeah, I think for me, that's why theater will never be fully recorded. In as much as you might say, oh, people will just record because it's easier to distribute and all that, there's a huge thing lost. And I think that's the same reason why concerts still happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's the same song or if they'll vary it slightly. The fact that when you watch the performance, you're free to experience it the way you want. And that's why some people even watch concerts multiple times
Mm-hmm.
because they just have that agency to focus on what they want.
Yeah.
The next question was, what are our thoughts on movies turned into musical or theater shows, such as Mean Girls and Heather?
There have been some serious gems, so don't belittle them. In the same way that a lot of the official Disney adaptations of movies turned into stage musicals turn out to be pretty awesome too. Hence, like The Lion King is still one of the best musical productions out there because it's so amazing how they translated it. Same thing that Legally Blonde was like Toby's super favorite musical until In the Heights came along,
Yes.
and then Lin-Manuel exploded into our lives. But
Yes.
the Legally Blonde musical is fantastic, and the MTV made it possible to watch a full recording of it, and copies of that are still on YouTube.
I actually like the musical more than the movie.
Yeah,
But that's me.
and then Atlantis, was it Atlantis? I think that also did a local staging of it many
Yes.
years ago, and it was still a lot of fun.
It was different from what we have seen,
Yes.
but it was still fun to watch to see how they translated and they approached it.
Yeah, I mean and that's also another beauty of like watching these stage, because every down to every night may be different, especially
Yes.
if there are alternate casts. Then the performance tone can change, the ad libs, and there will be ad libs,
Mhm.
can be different, and how they also like to incorporate local references,
Mhm.
especially for things done by local theater groups.
Mhm.
That just adds to the fun, you know. So it's not machine, you know, the exact same performance every night. There are always slight tweaks and changes that make each experience
The changes may be
especially unique.
intentional. The changes may be coincidental. The changes might be um, they might be caused by the performers themselves, in the sense that, okay, they chose to approach it this way, they chose to focus on this specific portion of the interpretation of that story, but all this makes every performance worth seeing, just to see how they, you know, they interpret the material.
Yeah, and then like I'm sure a lot of us like had to read Shakespeare in high school, but
Mhm.
then like have you actually invested time to watch a Shakespeare production?
Mhm.
And you can read it as a book, but it's still never the same as seeing it fully performed. And there's a beauty in that. There's a super beauty in that.
And that was one of the things we lost this year, right? That there was supposed to be this production, and supposedly they were going to do it in the language closer to how it was spoken or something. I sort of remember we were looking at that earlier this year.
I can't remember this
Yeah.
one. We lost a lot this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know we're already over. We already hit the time, but I think I would just want to like
Well, I think we can go for a list.
well I don't know if I want to list yet, but I have
Okay.
I have like a general tip sheet. Is
Okay.
that yeah, I mean we don't. I think Carla asked earlier, like if we go together or do we have a group? Admittedly, we don't waste time waiting
Mhm.
for a group. Toby and I just watch on our own a
Mhm.
lot, and then maybe align with other people after. Although I think when plays do resume, we'll try to involve Nico more because he
Mhm.
wants to watch more plays.
Yeah.
So that's
I
one.
know Flip was interested also, but where he lives is a
Yeah, but
challenge.
admittedly, the more people you involve into the experience, the harder your scheduling and ticket acquisition challenge is. You need to decide quick, guys.
Seats
'Cause
matter.
The seats matter. And then learn your theater. As balancing between the budget that you have to watch a production versus the experience you want for a production. Learn your theater and figure out what seats you are happiest with.
Mhm.
And it will differ from person to person. Some people like balcony seats because it's like super high up there and it's
Nothing
a wide
blocking my way.
in a wide view. Some people like orchestra seats right up front
So
because
you
they really
can-
want to be super close to
And
the
you
action.
can see their faces when they act. You can see every nuance.
Yeah, and then as much as we like love to invest in these things, I don't have we don't really have a limited budget to watch
Mhm.
in orchestra seats all the time.
Mhm.
So I tend to aim for like personally I tend to aim for lodge seats because depending on the theater, the acoustics tend to be there are theaters where they have really great lodges where great acoustics. The music just really channels
Surrounds you.
there.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's always fun.
Mhm.
Mitch asks favorite theater to watch.
Not
That's
Soler.
hard. Soler, the problem with the theater at Soler is that leg room is terrible.
Not good for tall people because your knees will be against the other seat.
Yeah, and then I have experienced that even as short as I am, my knees are still touching the wall.
Mhm.
I have figured out the seats that Toby is most comfy with
Yes,
in
that's
Soler, and they are not the orchestra seats.
And there's that slight angle on the floor, so you feel like you're tiptoed.
No,
Right.
that's not.
Oh, sorry,
Soler.
that's a different place.
That's the
Resorts.
one in Cubao.
Okay.
That's a terrible theater.
Yes,
The Kia Theater.
the one in Cubao.
The
I
Kia
forgot
Theater
about
is a
that.
converted movie theater, and then the seats they did not make them straight. They aligned them with the slant of the floor, so you spend the whole production leaning forward and like or trying to stay back because the seat is angled forward.
It has that feeling. At
It's a
least.
terrible, terrible theater.
Peta,
I don't know about favorites. Peta, depending on where you are,
expect monoblocks.
expect
Um,
monoblock chairs. You can
yeah.
pay extra for the cushy chairs. You just may end up nearly as long.
But ultimately, the joy of Peta is the intimacy of the production.
It is like similar to the feeling you get in the Huseng Batute small theater in CCP.
Yeah.
That it really lends to that experimental feel that you're
Mhm.
all kind of huddled around a much smaller stage, and you don't necessarily get to see the play from head on. They have to choreograph their
Mhm.
plays to factor three sides of the stage
Yeah.
to face all the audiences. I guess favorite theater from a convenience perspective is probably still RCBC. Parking is not great,
Mhm.
but then that lodge is like one of my most favorite lodges. Like I know the seats are always good,
Mhm.
and then you just have to deal with the projector or like the railing a bit.
Mhm.
But super super nice intimate theater. Always
Surprisingly,
fun.
I'm happy with On Stage. At first, I didn't like the
Because
idea.
on stage is another converted movie
Yeah,
cinema.
but they know how to make use of the space.
Mm.
They know how to make sure the set has depth, how they use the wings.
Yeah, and because it's repertory, they do invest in like nice big sets and
Mm.
not necessarily complicated ones, but very visual striking ones. I
Mm.
mean, I think it was doubt that the stage was mostly pillars casting shadows.
Yeah.
So that was very creative.
And then, given the size of the theater, you feel like you're all in orchestra seats
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they're all close.
But admittedly, I also invest in orchestra. I mean, because repertory is cheap enough that I can invest in orchestra
Yes.
center seats
Mhm.
all the time, and I'm happy for that.
But I guess what I'm saying was in comparison to other theaters we're in.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like super super huge. Yeah, and then like the middle of the road is like Maybank is the closest to our house, but then not super happy with the seating and the sight lines are a little odd.
Mhm.
And then
If possible, avoid sitting close to the tech people.
yeah,
You do not want to be watching and you can hear in the background, even if it's soft. Camera to lights and checking lights. The music and then music.
yeah, it varies. Power Mac Center, which is like a red turnip favorite, is also like a little weird. You're probably gonna be a monoblock, but it supports they like irregular staging. So sometimes it's like a parallelogram stage,
Or
and-
or the route to your seats is you're accompanied by people with flashlights because you might hurt yourself.
yeah, because there's a lot of cabling on the floor and the like. So
Sir, duck down. Ayan, sir, sige.
it's cool. It's cool. I appreciate what they
Mhm.
try to do. So it's like
and they allow wine.
yeah, they like drinking in the theater, and then it comes with the experience. I think that like those are the usual suspects. Ironically, together we have never watched a play at Resorts World.
Mhm.
I don't know why, but then like I've never really been drawn to like the Resorts World productions for some reason. And we've invested in all the others, and then yeah, and then I guess the school ones are like what's this? You get what you get with school theaters. And
But
that's
it's fun. It's fun though because you sometimes see performances, and then a few years later, hey, I remember him from you see the growth of their development. You see how they've matured as performers, and it's nice seeing that.
Yeah, totally. And then especially because the local theater scene in terms of talent is very small.
Mhm.
And so you will see people jumping from production to production.
Yes.
And it's not even like this isn't like TV where you have stables of like dedicated whatever.
Mhm.
An active member of like one production company could be an officer in
the
another,
yes,
and could be just a talent for a particular play.
or a director in a different different set.
So you see a lot of that
Them
going
again.
around, and it's totally cool.
So general tips.
My God, people,
Arrive.
turn off your phone.
Yeah. Yes, please.
I don't even support silent mode.
Yes.
Turn off your phone.
And-
You can live without your phone for an hour. Get to intermission, check your phone,
And it doesn't
then-
matter if you think you're able to do it stealthily by looking at it from inside your bag and all that. People hear the clicking.
And the light just
And the ambient
lights
bleed
up.
is still there.
And totally and respect the theater when they say that please don't take picture, please don't take video.
That's the sad thing. People still really do. And then when they're told by staff to delete the photo,
Then they get mad.
yeah, it's so.
This includes taking pictures of the whatever initial curtain or set that
That's
is
present,
visible
even
when
if
you
it hasn't
enter the
started.
theater and the play hasn't started.
Yeah.
that's why it's always like at any time you're not supposed to take pictures.
Please show up on time.
Yes.
Because some theaters, thankfully, they do keep people from going in if it has started, and they wait for a moment to let them in.
But you're still going to be like crawling through the theater in the middle of a performance.
And more often than not, these same people would be the ones who will not just go to their seats and sit down. They'll have all that, ay, sorry excuse me, ay, grabe, late na tayo. Shut up and sit down. I mean, we all know you're late. You don't have to express it anymore.
Yeah, you don't have to make make a little production of you being late. We already know you're late.
Don't bring snacks. We hear that too. We can hear the crinkling of plastic and foil.
Notice our tips are all just these are the regular theater admonitions, but please. Mine is always like dress comfortably, and then if you're sensitive to the cold, dress for the cold. Or bring something that you, as a shawl, a jacket that you can take off. But you don't necessarily have to dress to the nines for theater. I'm so sorry. I mean, if you want to, that's fine. But then if this is a barrier to you wanting to watch a production, no, it should not be. Toby and I show up at so many productions in t-shirt and jeans, and we don't care.
I mean, don't super dress down to the point that you'll show up in your,
I don't know, athletic wear,
sweatpants or something.
Yeah.
Because I know some people think, slippers is fine because the slippers is, 15,000 pesos, etc. It's still slippers.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're not fooling anyone.
But I see this especially like the big theaters like Soler. Then you really have people super dressing up. And then, I mean, it's cool if that's really your thing. But my thing is like, don't if this is stopping you from watching a production that you think it's a hoity-toity high-class experience, please, no. Watch the production. Enjoy it.
As my share, singing only if acceptable for the production. Yes, please respect the fact that we did not pay to hear the person beside us sing.
Yeah, we are here to watch the performers sing.
And if the performers are the ones saying, everyone sing along.
Yeah, that's fine.
Fine.
And that's normally like maybe the finale, the number that happens after the closing, after the curtain call and stuff.
On a related note, if you don't quite get what's happening, please don't ask while the play is running. Or if you really must, then at least have the sensitivity to make sure you whisper as softly as you can.
Like really whisper.
So ano nangyari? Bakit ganon? And, oh my gosh.
Because, and I mean, sure, it happens when you watch movies sometimes. But then the movie is a pre-recorded experience that will keep going no matter what you do.
And it's not necessarily hard to find the chance to see it again.
Yes. In a stage production, I'm sorry, you gotta pay attention. And then if you speak, you are interrupting people who are working on stage. And it can be quite distracting. Same thing with like the cell phone light, or same thing with the crinkling wrappers of candy and other snacks.
Because the last thing you want is the performers themselves to stop because they noticed you, and they'll call you out.
And this happens. This totally happens. People get called out. Or you're going to have the usher running from across because he saw you raise your phone.
But again, you have now caused a disruption that affects everyone else who's trying to watch.
Yeah, and the play is going to keep trying to go on with or without you.
Bear in mind, not all productions have, I forgot what the term is called, between Act 1 and Act 2.
An intermission.
An intermission. So use the restroom as early as you can before the show starts, so you don't have to worry about it during the show.
Avoid coffee before a play.
Yes.
And other diuretics that will make you go to the bathroom.
My ads, don't be noisy fangirls if there's a cute or hot actor. I will admit that there probably will still be that initial, and that's fine. That's a human impulse. But if you still keep going, hot niya. Ay, grabe ang hot niya. Okay, you are now just
making a scene.
Yeah, you now just think people enjoy seeing you react, and that's not what it's about. Okay, given that, I guess the last one I'll add. Once curtain call is done, if you really want to avoid the lines, be sure you mapped out.
This is a legit tip.
Be sure you mapped out your way out when you were walking in.
Yeah.
because most theaters do have an alternate way to get out that doesn't
Yeah,
necessarily follow the full route
because coming in, they control the entrances to limited points,
for
so
the
they can
tickets.
verify tickets.
Yeah.
But normally there are additional exits that open up when you get out. So Soler, the theater at Soler,
Is notorious for terrible
parking.
people management
Yeah.
because they have the parking floor which is accessible only by elevator for some stupid reason. Despite the fact it's a really high class place where they could have more security if they opened up the stairwells.
Yeah.
So you will have everyone and their dog lining up on the same spot, not just to go to that parking floor, but to go everywhere else. So you're competing with so many people when the show's over just to get to your parking.
and it
It's
just
annoying.
stresses how big the theater at Soler is. That's a lot of people.
And what's really frustrating is the floor we exit from in the theater. Had we just been allowed to loop past, would be the parking area of the
Yeah.
car,
It's like basically you have to go down again
and then
to get to the
go
parking
up
elevator, then go up to your parking level. But technically, you were on the same level
already.
earlier on.
So it's
So
frustrating.
Toby and I blitz out of
Mm.
those productions, and like we have our escape route mapped out to get to the elevator as quickly as possible. At the same time, if you like you want to interact with the actors, especially with the local productions at places like Rep
Yes.
or the Atlanta shows at RCBC, then I mean by all means do so. But understand
they
that
would be happy to interact with you.
yeah, just understand that it will also mean you are joining the core glut of people leaving the
Yes.
theater. RCBC's people management is also a bit of a challenge, and
Mhm.
that's always a pain.
Yeah. But being able to talk to them, I know many will think, parang nakakaya, they're stars. They would love to hear how much you enjoyed it because that's their passion, that's their job, and to have that connection is always a good thing.
Mitch asking buy the playbill, yes or no? I am a big
Mhm.
playbill person. Not everybody needs to. I will admit, especially there are. I mean, playbills are super cheap, maybe at Repertory Philippines, where they're $50 or $100 per playbill.
Mhm.
But then you get to the cases like Soler and the like, or Atlantis, where it's like $500 for a playbill.
Mhm.
It really depends on like, do you want keepsakes and stuff, and do you what memory of the production do you want? I like playbills because then I get to dig into the casts and the names and
Mhm.
stuff. And I just like supporting. I just like supporting the production in as many ways as possible. And then at the same time, my favorite memorabilia is a magnet. As long as you have a magnet for your play, I'm
Mhm.
gonna get it. I'm not great on mugs because we have so many mugs as it is. But yeah, I love
And then
magnets.
soundtracks for musicals is tricky because it's not necessarily what you watched. It
Yeah.
might be the official soundtrack for the production, but it might not necessarily be the same people performing.
And then a lot of some of the local shows, sometimes the album or the CDs that are being sold are just
I'll
songs
get a magnet.
by
for sure.
the performer.
Yes.
Or like it's their own musical work. So I guess it's not a bad thing to support. Just make sure you know what you're getting. Carlo asking magnets for the fridge.
Yeah, so
Yes.
here's an example.
Yeah, so there's a heavy one. So yeah, I got a Les Mis one. I mean, so I like theater. I like ref magnets
Mm.
for plays, and then even the local ones tend to have some, but not always. Admittedly, not all productions do magnets.
Yeah.
I've done keychains over the years, but then keychains are keychains, and they tend to fade and get chipped and break. Magnets are super fun, and they are a great documentation of things you've seen.
David asks, David. Carlo asks for fridges. No, for your laptop.
Shady.
Yeah, for fridges. I guess that's our general tips and our general suggestions.
So I mean, so this you can use this lockdown period to explore a lot of the online, whether free or paid
Mhm.
for recordings of stage productions, and get a feel for what's out there. And I
Yes.
super urge you to like also look at a lot of the local work that's doing. PETA is doing online releases for things like Care Divas, which is a very popular long running original local production. But the it's going to be it's done through a paid ticketing system. I forgot like ktx.ph or something. So and that's fine. I mean, please don't think that because it's streaming it must be free like YouTube. no, I mean, invest and support these people because they have not been able to run plays all year, so they have not had income. And then, in all honesty, I mean, like plays in themselves, your ticket your ticket prices are not necessarily enough to even pay them. I mean, the whole play production is a combination of your ticket price, the revenue, and then the sponsors that help make the play happen. So, um, yeah, the prices that a lot of the online stuff are charging for these recordings are super small. So please go for it.
So in terms of online play suggestions, that's a bit tricky.
Yeah, because it's rotating. So
Yeah.
for bare minimum for us is like every weekend we check what is streaming on the YouTube channel for the shows must go on for Andrew Lloyd Webber stuff. The National Theatre in the UK also
Yes.
has occasional free stuff, but not always.
So that's where we saw the Benedict Cumberbatch Frankenstein
yes. And then for yeah, so we see that PETA is moving towards KTX to do local productions with a ticketing system. So that should be interesting. CCP still rotates some videos in and out. Dula ang UP has a lot of their recorded productions free on YouTube. Admittedly, it's a bit of a challenge for some of the local recordings because it's really a camera that was sitting in the audience. So the audio is ambient, environmental audio, and it's not like the feeds from lapels and such. Especially for like Dula ang UP because the actors themselves don't have mics. It's really projecting in a small theater. So the few recordings we've watched, that's gonna be your challenge, which is okay. But not necessarily the most ideal first introduction.
Yeah, bear in mind that many of these recordings were actually recordings for documentary purposes. They were not meant to be broadcast quality.
Yeah, they're just meant to document the play, but not necessarily.
But
they were
given
really
the
done for production.
lockdowns and the desire to still, generate funds, generate interest in theater, get people to check it out, many have started to show them as well for opportunities to watch it. There are also the official means that are out there. You'll have to find them on your own, but they still offer opportunities for you to explore if you want to start investing on, enjoying and celebrating theater by paying for the materials as well.
Yeah,
we will leave you to do that on your own.
And then it also helps to, start looking at what the local theater companies are and follow them on social media, follow them on Facebook. They don't necessarily have recordings for their stuff available, but they do a lot of read-throughs. They do a lot of performances over Zoom. So there are all these other alternative things they're doing to kind of keep things going. So that's always fun to explore as well. And then once the plays resume next year, then you're in the position to find out what's going on sooner. Yeah. So that's what we can help for this. Ultimately, there is magic that happens on a live stage, and I hope that more people take the time when it's okay again to watch plays in theaters. It is an experience that I will always be an ardent supporter of, ardent fan of, and I will love to be a sort of advocate to encourage people to go out to theaters and experience it. It's like it's like things like Into the Woods is one of my favorite musicals of all time. That was like one of those, like when I super got into musicals, that was like one of the first things I did, first things that really hooked me. And this was the original 1996 Broadway cast, admittedly because there are recordings available of this production. And then when you go back to things like there was the movie adaptation of Into the Woods, which was okay, but again, it became more the movie experience and not the theater experience, and it's never quite the same. Yeah, so give it a shot. Give it a shot.
I would also add that don't be surprised or don't be too overwhelmed if you find yourself watching something and not liking it, because there's different interpretations, there's different productions, there's different genres, and I have found myself, for example, enjoying one production of Phantom of the Opera, and then I enjoyed Phantom, so I tried watching this other production of Phantom, and I hated it. And that actually does happen when it comes to theater because of the nuances and how they change things. Because sometimes it might still follow the same music, the same beats. They might even copy the same set. But then the actors choose to approach it differently. Maybe this actor shows the Phantom as more suave, and this one shows the Phantom as more scary. And that small change can affect how you'll affect it or how you'll appreciate it. So don't like watch something for the first time and go, okay, I don't like theater, so I guess I'm not into theater.
Yeah.
Realize that maybe you just don't like that specific production or you don't like that specific material.
Especially when you look at like full-on revivals that really change how a play is done. Just look at things like the original production of Pippin, choreographed by Bob Fosse. Had a very particular pasty white, well, almost cabaret-ish look to it because that was also like Bob Fosse inspired. But then they did a revival in recent years where it became very colorful circus themed, which is a lot more vibrant, and then for some that they're into that more than the others. Once in This Island had a very different interpretation in its initial Broadway run versus the more recent revival where Lea Salonga was in. So these efforts to reinvent the plays that are already out there,
Sweeney Todd
totally changes things.
Sweeney Todd, which many have gotten familiar with because of the movies, will look very strikingly different when you see the musicals. But
the original Angela Lansbury production,
and then if you saw the recent local production, it gave it a totally different feel as well because that went pseudo post-apocalyptic city urban feel.
Yeah,
and that one was kind of iffy for us, but maybe it's more to your liking. So that's the thing. Just don't close your mind. Realizing it can be very different.
And just because you've seen a play once doesn't mean you shouldn't. You don't have to ever see another version of it again.
Yes,
that is part of the brilliance that you will see how it changes over time. And then of course, always going to stress: don't ignore the straight plays. Everybody, musicals are the low hanging fruit. Everybody likes musicals because they tend to be more fun. Again, the Disney training has gotten you to appreciate this sort of storytelling format. But there are so many great straight plays that are just phenomenal. I mean, from repertory that helped us see, like, we got to see a staging of Equus, and then what was that? Or Orange County something? I forgot. That was like a super good story. They've done a lot of great comedies and farces, which I always enjoy, and that's a lot of fun. And then on the flip side, PETA and the local productions do a lot of very heavy, thought-provoking pieces that really make you very
think. Emotionally charged ones.
Was it last year that we got to see the one that the core subject matter was suicide, and it was very, very heavy. And at the end of the play, they actually had a panel to help
talk about
the
process.
play and process, because part of it was an advocacy to increase awareness for suicide prevention and the like. So a lot of the local stuff put a lot of effort in like exploring difficult themes.
And for musicals, what I like is how there might be songs you've already enjoyed or celebrated because you like the song and you know it's from this musical.
Yeah.
But then when you actually watch the musical, you'll realize the song might have meant differently, or it might have carried a very different context in the narrative. For example, the Evans song, "You Will Be Found." Which everyone celebrates as a very empowering song, but in the context of the story, it gives you a different perspective as well. So
so take some time to appreciate the context of the story, where the music came from, and then it will open doors. I mean, and then your entry point will be different for so many things. Like maybe you like musical, you like Glee a lot, and you like some of the theater songs that were involved there. Maybe you just enjoyed a Broadway night at Obar and we're wondering what the shows are about. I mean, these are great hooks to jump into things, and find things to explore with sort of a handicap. It's like I love Bob Fosse, but admittedly, watching the musical versions of things like Cabaret, and even Sweet Charity,
Mhm.
ooh, kind of rough. He is not the best film director. He's a great dance choreographer.
Great moments overall.
Kind of draggy, hard to finish this movie, but it's all these different translations.
And you'd be surprised how the straight plays. You might think, okay, they're just gonna talk, and I'm gonna watch them talk the whole time. Oh my God, some of them are so. You will not even realize how much time has passed as you get into the story,
Yes.
and that's just amazing how they do it.
That's why I for many many years, or I think as long as Toby and I have been together, we have been regular rep subscribers at
Mhm.
least for the 3 straight plays at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And it's always tough juggling it because the first quarter of the year there's always a lot of plays going on, and then Toby and I are always like, this weekend we're gonna watch this, but then we also have an RPG game,
Mhm.
and then we're gonna go to O-Bar in this night.
Yeah.
So I'm always like trying to figure out our social calendar, but the plays come first. And I literally map out on a notebook, like I know this play is coming out this month, and I'm already trying to figure out game schedules versus theater schedules. But it's a fun challenge, and I embrace it wholeheartedly.
Okay. It was an earlier question, but I'll just bring it up. Do you differentiate musicals from movie musicals?
I mean, to some degree, yes. I mean, like because what's this?
So I guess to be more blunt, High School Musical, is it a musical?
It's still a musical.
Or is it
I mean,
just
like
a musical movie?
it's I think you can still say it's a musical in the sense, but then I mean, it's hard, guys. I guess my main thing is the movie may not always carry the same gravitas, and I'm gonna throw that word out, as the stage production. Because as much as they memorized all their lines, it was done in particular scenes.
Mhm.
It could be I mean, to capture a scene fully, it's multiple takes, so they get it right eventually.
Mhm.
Whereas in a stage production, then you have to you have to practice together to get that right and get the staging done right. And I don't know, I feel like that discipline lends something different
Mhm.
that differentiates your movie musicals from a full stage musical.
But would that then turn movies that are actually and not cheatedly shot in one take more plays?
But that's the
Yeah,
whole
It's
point.
just a question. It's just a question.
That's the point. That's what you're trying to capture when you
The feel
do
of
the
the
one
play.
take
Yes.
shot. When you do oneers,
Mhm.
you're trying to recreate the theater experience.
Wherein it's just going on and on. And yeah.
So, and the whole choreography of pulling the sets apart and moving the camera and all that. I mean, ultimately, that is a theatrical discipline and
Mhm.
approach, a stage theater approach. So, totally cool.
I guess to wrap up, if they were to explore, experiment, and hunt for stuff, what would be your top 5? These are the things you should look for. They might be what you like, but you might find them or you might be interested.
Well, I'm biased in the sense that
Mhm.
I'm a big advocate for Sondheim, and if you can find explore the works of Stephen Sondheim, then you may find something that you like. Because
That's right.
I think he was already like on the brink of trying to move away from sort of the classic style and really experiment with more complex lyrics.
Mhm.
He likes to round his music. He likes juxtaposing 2 different songs together to create a weird, sometimes dissonant moment,
Yeah.
but it's really really well done. It might be more easy to approach things like the movies that have been turned into musicals.
So Into the Woods.
No, like Legally Blonde
Legally Blonde.
and things
Okay.
like that. So movies that
I was thinking Sondheim in terms of.
no, I'm on
Sondheim's
another
stuff.
subject already. I mean, Sondheim, I'm always gonna say Into the Woods, and
Yeah.
then go from there. Because Into the Woods is it's a play where it's all about the different fairy tales knitted together into one story, and then they all eventually must go into the woods to resolve their dreams,
Mhm.
and you find out what happens after. And the 1986 Broadway production has recordings floating around
Yes.
everywhere. which
Yes.
includes, oh my God, the likes of Bernadette Peters as the witch, and okay, yeah, and then again,
so
so
we have Into the Woods.
Sondheim. Uh, I'm more categories than individual plays, but yeah, Sondheim, things like Into the Woods, movies that have been adapted into musicals like Legally Blonde,
the
and then
musical.
there's a lot of good press around Mean Girls. I haven't had a chance to see it, so we'll see. That's maybe an avenue for you.
Mhm.
Naturally, we'll recommend Lin Manuel Miranda because he found a way to bring rapping into his plays really in a very original, powerful way.
Yeah, I think
Plus,
I think what I like about how he did it was even people who don't like rap
yeah,
appreciated
we'll get
it.
into it. And then
Yeah.
plus, because a lot of his stories are focused on telling the story of immigrants, of the Hispanic communities in the U.S., whether you admit it or not, it's something that even Filipinos connect to a lot,
Yes.
because those stories have
Narratives.
similar narratives. So yeah, then Lin Manuel stuff is always good to go into.
Mhm.
Um, what else? I don't know. What do you want to throw in? Oh, sorry. My last is like, uh, then if you're a Disney fan, then think about Disney movies turned into plays.
Mhm.
I mean, there is stuff as basic as if you ever have a chance to go to a Disney park and they have weird, shorter versions
Mhm.
of the different Disney
Or
movies
side stories.
turned into stage productions. That's one thing to look at.
Mhm.
But then there's full Disney Broadway musicals, which tend to be a lot of fun. And then it will also put you through that experience of being able to compare or contrast the movie experience with
Mhm.
the play experience, and it can be quite fun.
Mhm. I guess I'll just add if you can find Repo the Genetic Opera, that's a good thing also to jump into to get that theater feel, even if it's a movie, because they kind of tried to pace it in a similar way.
We super love Repo.
Other than that, you can't go wrong with the popular ones, of course. Everything from Wicked to Miss Saigon, Phantom of the Opera. If you have easy access to those, most likely your parents might have already recordings, and because in the past everyone would buy this and that. So don't discount those. They're considered greats for a reason. But at the same time, you I know that a lot of the smaller productions, I think even schools now are trying to make their own live stream performances.
Mm-mm.
So they now have script readings, or like maybe they'll play one scene. So it's all just them on a Zoom camera or a web camera, but they're trying to act it out as if they're all in the same room. So those are still worth checking out as well.
For local, because Bias asked about local. Admittedly, I don't have like individual creators that I follow very
Mhm.
ardently, but I follow theater groups. So I always pay attention to what PETA is doing. We always try to watch as many Virgin Lab Fest plays as we can.
Well, me, I'm definitely a fan of Carlo Vergara's work. I love how he tries to break or explore a genre in a different way. So everything from
And he has a
Leading
flair
Lady
for comedy writing and
to
dialogue.
what was that other one he had with the ghostwriter, the typewriter with the AI? I forgot the name. Something. For some reason, I'm thinking Emilio Aguinaldo. It's not.
Wasn't it the Ernest Hemingway one or the
Yes. The
or
Ernest
the
Hemingway. Something
the-
Hemingway.
yeah.
But
So and then he had the Weird Beauty Queen one and things like that. So he's been like a regular participant in Virgin Lab Fest, and that's always fun.
Mhm.
And then but there are a lot of like, I mean, Virgin Lab Fest is always like, it's like reading a short story collection where you aren't guaranteed to like every story in the collection, but you will walk away with, I'm sure, at least one positive experience or one like,
Mhm.
oh wow, that's great, aha moment. And then and sometimes these one act plays, because they are still in incubation mode, get developed into full plays, get developed into larger stories, and then you can see that staging later on. So
Mhm.
Kung Paano Ka Naging Leading Lady was one of those that had that advantage where it started as a one act play and then got expanded into a full theatrical experience, and it's nice to see that evolution of the same story.
Mhm.
Um,
Same
Yeah.
with Zatorna. The
Mm.
way it was translated was so different, and yet still captured the essence and the feel of the comic so well. So
Yeah.
that was really
And
good.
then and then if you have the convenience of watching some of the school stuff, then by all means do so. I mean, admittedly, we haven't been able to do that as much because the schools are very up north from
Mhm.
BGC. But whether it's the likes of Dulaang UP or Ateneo Blue Repertory or Tanghalang Ateneo, and they have different like elements of focus because Blue Rep is like their musical group, and
Mhm.
then Tanghalang Ateneo, of course, is a lot of Filipino language plays and things like that. There's a lot to explore and then go with it. And then, if anything, my only like mixed thing is that the jukebox musical. So a lot of the local in recent years, the local original musicals tend to be jukebox musicals. When you say it's a jukebox musical, it is based around the discography of a particular musical artist.
So like Mamma Mia.
Yeah, from an international perspective, you have Mamma Mia for ABBA, but then locally we've had something for Eraserheads, we've had something for
Aegis.
Aegis, which is Rock of Ages, we've had something for Apo,
Mhm.
and it's sorry, and then things like uh, oh my god, what are the other ones? I can't remember the names now, but because they're the bands we had no affinity for.
Yeah.
That's a mixed bag.
Green Day had one also.
Yeah.
Mhm.
A bit of a mixed bag because again, you were trying to stitch a narrative together,
Using the songs.
disparate songs.
Which has sometimes the weird thing where the lyrics connect, but the mood of the song doesn't, or the mood of the song connects, but then they now change the lyrics, so you
Yeah.
feel like it's cheating.
But it may become low hanging fruit or an easier path for entry for you
Yeah.
because if you already like the songs of that artist, then go ahead. Watching the play based around their music could be a fun experience because it tends to be an original story that goes out the bounds. My only complaint is like the original artists are rarely involved in the creation of these stories, so I feel like we're missing out there.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I guess that is it. Any last things or closing?
I miss watching plays.
Yeah.
Super do. And then watching the YouTube stuff or the streaming stuff is helpful, but never quite the same. I will admit it's nice that there's a lot of these productions that are going online and
Mhm.
we're getting a chance to glimpse them. But in a heartbeat, if there's a chance to watch them live again, or for us live for the first time, I will still make the investment. And
Mhm.
then it could be, I mean, it would be cool to watch with other people, but then I don't know. I'm just happy if it's just me and Toby, and then we have our little conversation after. And stuff.
Admittedly, that's also because we also have our usuals. Like when we arrive, we don't really bother to take our time to look at the decor. We'll hurry and get to the part we need to get. Sometimes some decor will take some photos, but then we'll rush off. Because I know others, but they might want to linger and stuff. And okay, we'll just see you inside.
Yeah, and then admittedly, I'm like, because we're always concerned about getting out for parking. We're the type who don't necessarily linger to meet the actors.
Yeah.
And I know I'm also like shy, and then I don't want to compete with like everybody taking selfies. And like
Mhm.
that's okay. Then that's your thing. Everybody experiences theater in their own way. Me, I'm happy to have the playbill, and I'm gonna run. So
So to
Um,
close, what I will just leave is that if you do start exploring online to try to find theater that you might be interested in, be aware that there are also um, they have fundraisers, they have special events that you might find yourself diving into, expecting the theater production but only seeing snippets, and you might get confused. So, like for example, there have been celebrations of certain composers or creators. So they might show a snippet from a production that they made, followed by a snippet from
Oh,
a
yeah.
different production,
Oh,
and this and that.
there's a Sondheim tribute.
Yeah.
There's a Hey Mr. Producer tribute.
And I'm just bringing this up because you might find yourself going, "Oh, bakit iba na yung kwento? Oh, what's going on? But may band?" Or others, on the other hand, you might find yourself seeing the fundraiser activities, like for example, the Broadway Bears and
I
the
was
like,
gonna bring that up. Broadway
Which-
Bears did a clip show.
which might then also confuse you into thinking, why does this show not make sense? Why do the songs not connect?
Yeah.
So yeah, just so that you're aware.
There's a lot of variety show stuff going on
Mhm.
as part of the pandemic, and like ways for them to generate income. Because again, it's a reminder that the live events and performance industry
Yes, shut
as a
down.
whole has been shut down this entire time. They still have bills to pay. They still got to do rent, but then they have not been able to generate income, and they earn from show to show. So if the shows aren't happening, they're not making money. They're not earning a living.
Mm.
And please try to find ways to
Help out as
support
well.
them. If you have a little, as a lot of people like to say, if you have a little extra, then you might want to throw them their way. If you really appreciate what they do, if you like
Mhm.
what you watch online, yeah, and please stop complaining about online ticket prices. Just do it. It's like it's a fraction of what you would pay to see it in person. It is the least you can do
to help
to
us.
support these artists.
Yeah. All right, that is definitely almost 2 hours worth of information.
I thought we were gonna do a quick episode.
I know, I
today,
thought so too, but
because yesterday was so long,
but it was a good topic. A lot of people were sending great questions.
and we
Um,
love theater.
Yeah, and I do hope that you were able to draw something from this. I hope it at least sparked the interest if you haven't tried watching theater.
Yeah, start researching while in quarantine, guys. You have a lot of time to get ready.
Outside of the show, if you have other questions and recommendations and stuff, just shoot us a message if you know us. If you don't, that might be weird, but we'll still accommodate if you do. But that was definitely more than 30 minutes. We had a lot of fun, and we hope you'll join us again next time.
If you have questions for us or suggestions for future episodes, please fill out the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. We're still tossing around what to do for our actual anniversary on Tuesday, so that'll be interesting. And then also a reminder, I'll plug it formally this week, but we are scheduled to have the Odiva MC Black as our guest on Friday. So that long Friday episode is going to be another interview one. Hopefully it pushes through, weather permitting and the like.
Yeah.
And then Precious is going to happen the following Friday. So we've rescheduled that accordingly. You can still follow us on Twitter. He's all Toby No Shade. I'm RG Sunico.
You can also check out our blog, baduypride.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
And because it's anniversary week, I'm going to write a long whatever post on Baduy Pride. I just don't know how I'm going to do it this year. Oh my God, why does he have an underbite now? Okay. Like Toby said, feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below. Let us know how you got into theater. What do you use to recommend or to get people to explore the medium? Have you watched straight plays outside of musicals? I think there's a large venue to explore there. Be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride.
Pride.
Have a good evening, everyone.
And please turn off your phones.